Who you're afraid to be is who you must become to live the life that you keep feeling is supposed to be living. Just let that one sit for a moment. The very things that we are afraid of are the things that we actually need to become who we're supposed to become. And I know a lot of us going through this awakening have days where you really don't know who you are. In psychology, they call this derealization or depersonalization, but in spiritual awakening, it's actually part of the process. It's part of the process of you reclaiming who you are, who you were always meant to be. The thing about balancing the scales, I think we have a picture painted in our mind that it's a peaceful thing because we think Libra is always peace. But sometimes peace requires endings, death, letting go, betrayals, things that you don't think balance the scales actually balance the scales. Look at Mother Nature. We have buildings that we build, and Mother Nature come along, she might destroy that building. And from my perspective, it may seem very unfair. But then you fast forward 50 years, and there are trees and plants and herbs and animals and insects and things that no longer could be inhabitants of that land that was probably their land in the first place, who are inhabiting that land. This is what's happening inside of us. You are the microcosm of the microcosm. There's an entire system of universe inside of you. This is why the longest distance inside of us is from the head to the heart. But a lot of us have lived in our head for so long that we don't remember what it feels like to be in the heart. And being in the heart feels scary. Letting people see your weaknesses feels scary. It didn't serve you in the past. And so maybe you feel like it won't serve me now. I'm telling you, little by little, if you start to become who you're afraid to be, you will be able to attract the life that's in alignment with the version of you that you were always supposed to be. I recorded a message that was inspired by a movie called The Amateur. And this movie was released yesterday. This is basically 48 hours before the Libra full moon. And it helped me to see the other side of one of the goddesses, which is what I have been studying and using for my own self-mastery purposes, Mayat. Sometimes Mayat sends Sekhmet to balance the scales. Sometimes balancing the scales means divine retribution. Sometimes balancing the scales could mean you finally coming to terms with the ways that you show up. And outside of us, people will continue to trigger us until we create an inner sanctuary inside of us that keeps that trigger from creating a timeline that's based on our wounds and our pain. This is what we're here for. And I believe that most of the people called to stand on the front lines of this awakening, where the collective is coming to terms with the shadows that we have all hid from or blamed on something else. You know, religion really hurt us because it gave us something outside of us to blame. We were able to blame everything on the devil. The devil made me do it. The devil made me sin. My flesh made me do it. And that gave me peace. When I was practicing Christianity, I needed something outside of me to blame, because the weight of feeling accountable for the things that I was doing, whether consciously or unconsciously, was unbearable for me. And that's something that kind of turned us into victims who use learned helplessness as a way to protect ourselves when we feel like we can't control what's happening in our lives. But it also gave us a sense of security that We have something outside of us that's going to fix it for us. But at the end of the day, because when I died, it was just me. It was me deciding with the energy of creation to come back into this physical form or to leave. And I decided to stay because I wanted to fulfill my soul's mission. And nothing about my life has been easy. Nothing about my life has been easy. And not to make this video about me, but I like to use myself as an example. Imagine being born with born with an illness that is going to render you incapacitated, lead to possibly experiencing pain unimaginable every single day of your life, organ failure, organ damage, the list goes on and on, strokes. Anybody can look up the complications of sickle cell anemia. It is endless. And I incarnated as a black woman. So there are two other difficulties within this realm of what we call the 3D matrix that I signed up for my soul contract to experience. I experienced going from being a middle class family with parents who were married to poverty with a mother who had to figure out how to take care of us without my father anymore. And to go from the military base to the hood, talk about a culture shock. And I had so many memories of my past life, even as a kid. People who knew me can tell you. I would say things like when I used to be a man, or when I was a 17-year-old boy. I was 5 and 6 and 7 years old saying shit like this, had no idea why. And then I moved to the Bible Belt, where I would dedicate myself to monotheistic religion, only to learn that monotheistic religion has been fueled by astrotheology, because the Biblios is the book of the Helios, which is the book of the sun, the S-U-N, not the S-O-N. And then I started to pay attention to the planets and learned about astrology, but astrology was forbidden. And I was like, why is this forbidden? If all of this was created by the creator, then why is it forbidden? I mean, didn't the three magicians, oops, not supposed to do magic, my bad, but they're in the Bible, and they found this Christ. And it was so much confusion. It was so painful for me. I went so hard. For any religion that I studied and practiced, I went hard, and I have receipts online for it. It broke my heart. It took me years to grieve how much time, money, and energy I dedicated to something that I had no idea was fueled by war and bloodshed and raping and pillaging of women and colonization of minds and psychological enslavement. And not only that, but every form of abuse that you can think of, I have experienced. And I have also witnessed. So I'm chronically ill, terminally ill, no support system, no money was passed down to me. I didn't have any way to get money that was secure, no stability, no security. I incarnated into a very difficult life experience, and that's just the tip of the iceberg. But I refuse to give up. I refuse to believe that that pain does not have a purpose. So when I say I created a course, it was because I had to live it and the things that I needed to learn so that I could master navigating life. I wanted other people to have access to that. So go to my YouTube. The link is in my bio. Watch that video. As a recovering codependent people pleaser, and it was deep, let me tell you, because when you land in a hospital bed and the people taking care of you are racist and they might give you too much medicine or no medicine at all, and you got to learn how to be nice enough to make sure you get your medicine. See, I've been in extreme situations that many people have never experienced and probably never will in this lifetime. So if you hear it from me, you better believe that it's coming from experience and wisdom. I might look young, but the way that I look is not a reflection of the wisdom that's inside of me. And in my little 45 years on this planet, I have experienced a lot. So go to my YouTube and watch that last live stream that I just posted.